Okay, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. It's David Schmidt, and welcome to this month's product training webinar. I hope that you are all doing very well, that you're safe, and that you're relaxing. Also hope you're doing a little bit of work, and because it's summer, I hope you have something nice planned for yourself. Of course, things have been a little bit crazy around the United States. So I think this is a perfect time during the summer to relax a bit and de-stress. And that's why this evening we are going to be talking about stress reduction. So let's go ahead and get started. I think you're going to find this really interesting. And we have a number of topics that we're going to cover within this subject of stress as it relates to not only quality of life, but also as it relates to longevity. We're going to talk about that relationship, about how we can improve the quality of our life today. And then also, let's look at the big picture in the long term, because we want to be healthy for many decades to come. So let's get into it. Okay. Now, first thing is, when we're talking about stress reduction, we are going to be talking about the Aeon patch this evening, because in my opinion, it is the perfect complement to X39 for a whole variety of reasons that we're going to be getting into. But let's lay a foundation here. First of all, you know, I'm not a medical doctor, and any recommendations I might give this evening, please speak with your medical doctor or healthcare practitioner about them. And if you have a medical condition, of course, before you use our products, please consult with your healthcare provider. Okay, now that we have the disclaimers out of the way, let's get into it a little bit. All right, so first thing is with stress. It's important to recognize that there is the stress that most people are familiar with, which is going to be physical and emotional stress, which is detrimental to our health. But it's really important to understand that there is beneficial, healthy stress. Exercise is a great example of a healthy stress. When we exercise, not only are we helping to support our overall strength and stamina, our bone density, our memory, our hormones, but we're also turning on genes that are associated with longevity. We're telling our body, hey, I need these muscles, so keep them. Keep my body healthy and strong. So exercise is a beneficial type of stress. Okay, now, eating within an 8-hour window, or intermittent fasting, or just plain fasting if you prefer, fasting is a healthy stress. Because when we go for a period of time, let's say it's 16 hours, we go for 16 hours without eating, and this then starts to turn on genes associated with health and longevity. We also induce other healthy stress in the body. Our body starts to get rid of old, damaged, dead cells that would otherwise damage our healthy cells. This is called autophagy. Another phenomena that occurs when we fast is that we elevate hormones like growth hormone and testosterone. So it will help to support lean muscle mass and reduce our body fat. So fasting is a healthy stress. So what we're talking about this evening, of course, is how can we manage, let's say, an emotional stress in our life. Maybe we get into a fight, we have long work hours, we have a stressful job. What can we do to manage this stress? Because it's been shown that when people engage in things like exercise and meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, when people engage in all of these different things to manage stress, it helps support a long and healthy life. So how can we use the patches to do this? And very importantly, since we are a fact-based company, what evidence do we have that the Aeon patch reduces stress? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser here. If you're interested in levitating off the earth and flying like Superman, there's a clinical study here that's just for you. I know that's a shameless tease, but anyway, I'm going to talk about that later. So stick around for a minute. All right, now let's go back to the earthly things of stress reduction. First thing is, here is an article in Psychology Today talking about the effects of emotional stress on the body. And probably not surprisingly, if we go through emotional stress for a long period of time, it actually accelerates the aging process and causes premature aging. Now, it does this through a number of factors. So the easiest way to think about this is that when we're experiencing any type of physical or emotional stress for a long period of time, it will increase production of something called free radicals in the body and inflammatory chemicals. And if these biochemicals, if they stay around long enough, they'll end up damaging healthy cells and reducing the length of what are called the telomeres in the cells. Telomeres basically control the number of times our cells can divide, so they're, of course, intimately connected to our lifespan. So long story short, if we live a life where we are not managing our stress, it can have a detrimental effect on our health and also how long we live. All right, so that's the first thing. Second thing is, here's a study that's showing the connection between stress, inflammation, and aging. We're not going to go through this in any kind of detail because we have a lot of other studies that we want to take a look at, but I'm only bringing this up to show that there is a significant body of research linking emotionally driven stress to elevated levels of inflammatory chemicals and the aging process. Interestingly enough, when you look at different life forms on this planet, such as lobsters or clams are a great example. When you have a species that has a elevated lifespan, so in lobsters, for example, there's been lobsters that are found to be over 130 years old. There have been mollusks that have been found to be over 500 years old. But yet, when you open up these lobsters or clams, they look young and healthy. And that's because they are adapting extraordinarily well to stress. Oxidative and inflammatory stress does not exist in these creatures. It doesn't, and they don't have any type of detrimental effects. They've been able to biologically adapt. So the reason why they die is they either get sick or they are attacked by a predator. So that's some of the things that we want to look at in research, is how can we duplicate what some of these species are doing to have these incredibly long lifespans? Can we apply it to human beings? So an important part of this is stress management. Okay, and I know a number of you have questions. I'll be happy to answer questions towards the end, so just bear with me. Okay, this is the science section of our website. We simply go to products and scroll down to science. And so all of the studies that I'm going to be talking about this evening are found at this place on our website. All right, so let's talk about a number of clinical studies here on the Aeon patch. So what proof do we have the Aeon patch reduces stress? Well, actually, an enormous amount of proof. I'm only going to show you a few studies this evening. Okay, first, this is a published study, and it's a double-blind, placebo-controlled study that was done with 50 people. And by the way, 50 people is what meets the criteria for the FDA and the FTC in order to show proof that a product works. They actually only require 40 people, but you never know how many people are going to finish a study, so you start with more. So that's why we started with 50 people. When you have a drug, that's where you see hundreds of people because there's toxic side effects, people drop out, and they don't work, quite frankly, they don't work as well as the patches. They don't get as many people responding to drugs as we do with our patches. Over 90% of the people that use the patches respond. So that's why in our studies, you always see we're getting statistical significance. Okay, in any case, this study was done by Dr. Homer Nazaran. Dr. Nazaran's now retired, but he had worked for the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the University of Texas in El Paso. And you can see we set up this study here with the Aeon patch, and we want to look at the effects on the autonomic nervous system. Now, autonomic nervous system is divided into what's called the sympathetic and parasympathetic, meaning fight or flight. And when people are in parasympathetic mode, they're in a relaxed state. When people are in sympathetic mode, this is where they're very, very active and they are stressed. So we want to see a balance where people go into a relaxed state and they're balanced right between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Any case, if you were to read through this study, you can see that this study showed something really extraordinary. Within only 20 minutes of applying the Aeon patch, we showed that we created a relaxation response in the heart, and this led to a reduction in stress. So we found that that hypothesis was true. Okay, so this is a bioelectrical test. Let's look at something else. Now, this is a study that was done at the Center for Biofield Sciences in India through Dr. Thornton Streeter. And this was another bioelectrical test, but we used 3 different types. We used something called electrointerstitial scanning, which can measure the bioelectrical effects in the organs. We use another a technique called gas discharge visualization, or GDV, and this looks at the bioelectrical field around the body. And we can coordinate this to essentially what's happening in the organs. So in other words, the bigger the biofield, the healthier the subject. And then another form of measuring the energy field in the body called polycontrast interference. Anyway, long story short, and by the way here, it says the LifeWave X15 patch. When we were in pre-launch of Aeon, we referred to it as X15. So we didn't know at this time when the study was done, we didn't know what the patch was going to be called, so we just referred to it as its laboratory designation of X15. But in any case, you can see that overall there were significant positive changes in all 3 assessment techniques. So yet, in addition to heart rate variability, 3 other bioelectrical methods of assessing activity within the body that shows the Aeon patch is inducing a state of relaxation. Okay, you may say, all right, David, that's all well and good, these bioelectrical tests, but what about any type of blood or urine tests? Do you have any biochemical tests? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because the answer is yes. Now, this is done by Melinda Connor. We love Dr. Melinda Connor. We've been working with her now for 10 years, and her and her daughter, Caitlin, who's also a PhD, absolutely phenomenal people and great researchers. I can't thank them enough for the way they've supported LifeWave over the past 10 years. So my thanks out to Dr. Melinda Connor and Dr. Caitlin Connor. So this is a study that we did, and generally, over the years, one of the protocols that we found that works incredibly well is to use a combination of biochemical and biophysical or bioelectrical assessments, meaning we can see bioelectrically how our organs in the body responding to the patches, and how does this show up in actual biochemical changes in the body. Well, this study was interesting. As you can see, it was done with Aeon, and it was done with 20 healthy subjects. And the result that I wanted to point out with you is that in the urine tests, we found out that the Aeon patch increased the synthesis of L-DOPA. Now, why is that important? It's important because L-DOPA is the precursor to dopamine. And dopamine in the brain is going to be one of those neurohormones that is going to drive us into a state of relaxation, among other things. Dopamine is also going to help to support healthy growth hormone levels. So long story short, we're showing bioelectrically, you put on the Aeon patch and now the heart goes into a state of relaxation. The nervous system goes into a state of relaxation, and the chemistry in the brain changes to that of a relaxed state. There's even an increase in antioxidants in the body, like glutathione, and that's important because if our body is less stressed, we won't use as many antioxidants. The antioxidants will be conserved. And that's very important because that can help to support health and longevity. All right, now I teased you a little bit before, so I need to explain. We have had the good fortune over the years of working with Dr. Glenn Ryan. Now, Glenn Ryan is internationally recognized as a leader in understanding the bioelectrical phenomena around the cells and the human body. And he has come up with a number of very, very novel in vitro tests. One of them is to look at the effects of different products on human DNA. Now, I had a discussion once with Dr. Ryan about this, and what was interesting is we wanted to look at the effects of the Aeon patch on DNA. And one of the things that he brought up to me is, oh, I wonder if we're going to see if DNA goes into a mode of being superconductive. Now, you've probably seen strands of DNA. There is a phenomena that researchers still don't quite understand, but sometimes DNA will go into a toroid or a donut shape. And when it goes into this donut shape, it becomes superconducting. In other words, it loses all resistance to electricity, and it forms a massive bioelectrical biomagnetic field. This could explain why people that practice Qigong and other energy methods emit extremely powerful magnetic fields off of their palms, and they're able to heal with their hands. That's one possible way to explain it. There is a number of books I have on the phenomena of human levitation, where people have been documented to levitate off the surface of the earth. So one of the things I've suspected is that what happens is DNA goes into a superconducting state, because it's very well known that a magnet will float above a superconductor. So in other words, the earth has a small magnetic field, and so if we had a superconductor, we might be able to float it off the surface of the earth. I know this has actually been done. Don't ask me to get into the details behind that. But in any case, we didn't see that with the Aeon patch. So you're not going to put on the Aeon patch and fly like Superman, okay? So just make that clear. But what we did find with this test is that the Aeon patch did in fact produce a electrical response in DNA. Okay, electrical properties of DNA were immediately measured and shown to significantly increase under certain excitation conditions, meaning when they're exposed to the Aeon patch. Now, this is important because it helps us to understand some of the many beneficial effects that the Aeon patch has on the human body. All right, we'll keep this moving along. You're probably getting the idea now that we have quite a few studies on Aeon because it's such a powerful product. Okay, now, many of you listening may say, you know, David, I don't really care about my DNA. Give me something that I do care about. Okay, what about the way you look and the health and appearance of your skin? Well, look no further. We did a study with 2 medical doctors down in Australia, and we wanted to look at using Aeon, glutathione, and carnosine on improving the skin, and the results were extraordinary. Now, this was a 12-week study. It was, in the study, we had 29 women between the ages of 45 and 65, and we wanted to look at a number of different parameters. So long story short, what we showed in the study is that the use of our Y-age patches could help to slow down the rate of aging in the skin. How incredible is that? Not only that, but probably not surprisingly, there were dramatic reductions in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Not only that, we saw this very powerful anti-aging effect where the hydration of the skin was improved. As we age, the level of water inside the cell normally decreases. So if we can increase hydration in the cells, that is a very powerful anti-aging effect. Now, also very remarkably, the cells of the body are composed of a fatty acid. It's a fatty acid membrane. And what was incredible here is that these 3 patches actually improved the way the body synthesized fats in the cell. So this is very important because this means that not only will the Aeon patch help you feel better, it helps you look better as well. All right, another study we did, I'm going to wrap up in 2 minutes. Another study that we did, this was a really fun study because Doctors Tom and Helen Budzinski are very well-known and well-respected PhDs in the field of biofeedback. Dr. Budzinski, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But we had the opportunity for many years to do studies with him. But this study was looking at using Aeon patch and testing it with an electrocardiogram. Long story short is that in this study, we showed that the Aeon patch could help shift the body into a parasympathetic mode and get the body more relaxed. All right, and I think one more study here we're going to show is in the beginning of this presentation, I made the statement that when we're under emotional stress, this can degrade the overall health of the body, break down the cells, and lead to premature aging. So the question is, if we manage stress, can this help improve our quality of life and maybe even our lifespan? And we see an indication of this in this study. We used a technique called electrointerstitial scanning. And in this study, we use this technique to look at how would the Aeon patch affect the health of the organs. And we looked at this using Aeon patch 12 hours a day over a period of 2 weeks, and look at what we found. In summary, the data shows that wearing the Aeon patch this way over a period of 2 weeks produced a highly significant improvement in the physiological functional status of the organs that were measured. And there's a lot more detail to this, so time kind of prohibits us from getting into it. But the bottom line is that we've shown through our studies within the first 20 minutes of using Aeon, it helps you get into a relaxed state. With continued use, it's going to help improve the health of the organs in your body, and it's even going to help support the health and appearance of your skin. That's why Aeon is such a wonderful complement to the X39 patch. Okay, we got a few minutes left here. I'm not going to be able to get to all of the questions this evening. I'll do my best. Hi, David. Would the LifeWave sleep patches be sufficient instead of melatonin supplementation? My opinion is yes. If you look at our studies, Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Melinda Connor did 2 studies looking at Silent Nights patch as a way to elevate melatonin naturally and improve the quality of sleep. And I'd say based on those studies, Silent Nights is extraordinarily effective in improving the amount of time that someone sleeps and also the quality of sleep. Now, keep in mind, if you're using X39, most people, according to our studies, are going to see a significant improvement in the quality of sleep. So I would try X39 first, see how your sleep improves. If you're not satisfied, then you could combine that with Silent Nights. X39 during the day, Silent Nights in the evening. Now you can also try Aeon in the evening. That's actually my preference these days, since we're coming out with more patches. I actually prefer the Aeon patch in the evening now, based on the way it relaxes the nervous system. Okay, what are your thoughts on supplementing additionally with collagen type 2 protein for specific cartilage building along with using Aeon and glutathione? Yes, we have seen quite anecdotally that when there is loss of cartilage in the knee, applying glutathione on the outside and Aeon on the inside will have a dramatic effect. And we recommend taking a collagen protein 10 to 20 grams a day. So it requires more than 40 milligrams, 10 to 20 grams of a collagen supplement per day. And also 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C 2 to 3 times a day. Vitamin C plays a role in triggering wound repair. Are all clinical trials done independently, or does LifeWave pay for them? That's a great question. First of all of the clinical trials are done independently. However, all of the ones that I showed are funded by LifeWave. Now, they're still independent. The researchers have to sign a conflict of interest statement, meaning that they are not benefiting any way financially from this. In other words, LifeWave is not paying them separately without disclosing it. They don't have an interest in the company. They're not stockholders or shareholders, so it's independent. So these are the same standards of drug companies. When drug companies do studies, they have to fund them, and they have to do those trials in order to get approval from FDA. So this is no different than the way a medical device company or a drug company does their clinical trials. They fund them themselves. Would you recommend the Aeon patch to reduce inflammation after a workout? I would actually recommend the carnosine patch. It's been shown that carnosine can help to buffer lactic acid and this lactic acid is what contributes to muscle soreness. Now, keep in mind, muscle soreness is a good thing. I know it doesn't feel good, but lactic acid is a very powerful growth factor, meaning that when you exercise and you get lactic acid, it is going to stimulate production of new muscle tissue. If you take muscle fiber and you put it in a petri dish with lactic acid, you can see the muscle fiber growing. So that's one of the reasons why lactic acid is there. No, I don't want to get into the biochemistry. That will be too long. But anyway, long story short is lactic acid is your friend in a way. You just don't want it to hang out around too long. So I would recommend the carnosine patch for recovery. Great studies in your view. And thank you. Yeah, we have quite a few studies, over 80 studies. We're really proud of that. Okay, in your view, how much water should we drink as a daily goal when wearing the patches to stay hydrated and support healing? Some of this depends on the quality of the water that you're drinking. It's better to have a quote-unquote structured water. There's all different types. That's a subject, another subject for another day, since it's a big subject. But in any case, if we're talking about a clean, filtered water, we should really be shooting for several liters per day. Let's say 2 to 3 liters per day. Some of this has to do with your diet. For example, if you're drinking a lot of coffee and tea, which are going to remove water from your body, you probably need extra supplemental water. Also, if you're consuming a lot of fruit, that's going to be very hydrating, as opposed to consuming a lot of protein, which you really should have more water. So it really depends a lot on those factors. So I'd say 2 to 3 liters a day, and that's a pretty good goal. Do you use Aeon 12 on and 12 off as well? Yes, absolutely. In phototherapy, there is a phenomena called accommodation or attenuation. And it simply means that if you keep stimulating the skin with light, eventually the body is going to stop responding. So this is why we recommend 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Can we use the patches with a pacemaker? Okay, I'm not a medical doctor. You have to ask your medical doctor. We do have people with pacemakers using the patches. We've never seen any issues, but we don't want to be in the position of telling you that it's okay, because we don't know your exact circumstances. So I would take it up with your medical doctor. But we're only stimulating the skin with light. So there should not be any interaction. And we don't have a study on that, by the way. So I can't point to a study that we've done. I just happen to know that over the years, we have had people with pacemakers use the patches. All right, I've got to wrap up in another minute. Let's see. I have pain on my knee. I had an operation in 2013. The doctor said my cartilage is thinning. Which patches would you advise for me to use? I would advise either X39 or glutathione on the outside of the knee and Aeon on the inside. I'd also recommend that you take a collagen protein, 10 to 20 grams per day, so you've got the raw materials for building cartilage. I'd recommend you take between 1 and 3 grams of vitamin C daily, spread out throughout the day, 2 or 3 doses, since that's used. Clinical studies have shown that's used to trigger production of cartilage. And that would really be a very, very nice protocol. How to wear both patches, Aeon and X39. They both affect the entire body. So you can put X39 behind the neck and the Aeon patch below the belly button. What is best for physical appearance, Alavita or Aeon or SP6? Okay, I don't know how we got to SP6 in appearance, other than I thought we were talking about the skin. there's a lot of ways to look at this, I suppose. Of course, Alavita is our skincare system, and we've had that clinically tested that way. I can't make any medical claims, so there's something that I want to say that I can't say. But let's say that someone is having a problem with the appearance of their skin. I'd recommend a detox with glutathione for 1 month. And in the short term, I would say the first month, glutathione could be very, very helpful. Other than that, I might go with Alavita. X39, though, we've seen has a shows dramatic benefits for the skin. So there's a lot of overlap over here. Okay, I'm really past the hour now. I can't possibly get to all these. Oh, I've got to answer this one because I don't think he's going to mind. This is coming from LifeWave leader Roy Sergiono. Just want to do a shout out to Roy. He is a warrior, and I know it must be killing him with COVID-19 because he can't travel internationally to support his teams all over the world. So Roy, a quick shout out to you, buddy, and I hope that you are doing well and looking forward to seeing you all around the globe once this COVID-19 clears up. All right, so X39 and Aeon, which would be better at reducing pain? X39 actually does manage pain, but the combination of X39 and Aeon is actually quite better. If I had to choose one, honestly, I would choose Aeon as it's a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. So if we were just looking at very short-term pain relief, and I happen to know that Roy is a master at pain relief demos, Roy, I would be using Aeon and LifeWave the way that you have for many years. But if we're looking at supporting the overall healing of the body, I'd have to default to X39. It's going to have better long-term benefits. So this is why X39 and Aeon make such a great combination. Okay, so with that, I'm going to have to stop the call. Apologies, I can't get to more of your questions. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. It's always a pleasure. I so appreciate that we get to spend this time with one another. I really enjoy it, so thank you for being here. So in any case, until next month, hope you stay safe, enjoy your summer, and looking forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.